lens is a little foggy again this morning. I think because of
I can't hear you over the rain.
the rain. I'm already good on coffee. What am I doing? My coffee cup's already full. I screwed up the order here.
Good job.
That's too far of a reach.
Dang it. I always do that.
It's supposed to be like here, so I don't have to extend my arm past
Too many boxes.
I don't know, an uncomfortable point. Good freaking morning. Hi Liz, you gonna join me today?
Yeah, hold on. I gotta do one thing.
Okay, you do your one thing. Welcome to a not so nice Monday morning. It is freaking pouring outside. Not that we don't need it, because we could use the rain. But it just
could?
never. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's been so freaking dry lately.
I'm not ready yet.
It just okay. It's just every time that it rains, it always seems to ruin something. But we do need it.
Okay.
So speaking of ruining,
What?
I have
Monday?
like what?
Is it your belt fed Monday?
No. Well, I mean, it could be. This I'm not necessarily belt fed about, but
Okay.
just my kid's freaking sunroof leaking, and we're in a monsoon. It's gonna be good times at my house the next few days. Are you gonna lose that?
No?
I think you will,
I'm not.
because you.
I never did check my hair again. Boy.
Good morning, Gordon. Good morning, Gordon. Morning, Gordon.
Morning, Gordon.
So anyway, we're here. It's funny. John walks in this morning. Walks in our office, and when we walked in, we went to jiu-jitsu this morning, so we got here at the same time. And when we walked in, it was freaking pouring outside.
Probably about what it is now, but
John walks in and he's like, "Good morning. You look like a drowned rat." Like,
I did. It was awful.
yeah, it was awesome.
It's okay.
It's a great way to say good morning to somebody.
I think I figured it out. Kind of. It'll be all right. Worth it.
Anyway, Gordon, unbiased opinion. What did you think? Gordon took our new Red Dot concepts course last
Unbiased
week.
opinion.
I said unbiased.
Yeah.
Didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. What did you think? Let us know.
Tell us.
It's a new class to us. It's a lot of concepts that we teach already, but being able to apply them specifically and fundamentally to the Red Dot. I'm excited for this class to grow.
Heck yeah.
So I hope you had a super awesome time, and I hope you learned a lot. I hope you struggled, and I hope you have goals to try to achieve to move forward with. Miss Elizabeth, good morning. Anyway, if you haven't, while we wait for Gordon to type up his dissertation, if you haven't taken it, which is probably most of you except for Gordon, you need to take it. It's essentially a full day course that we broke up into 2 days, okay? And we did that for a couple of reasons. One, for whatever reason, a lot of people don't want to spend a full day here. It floors me, but a lot of people don't. Another reason is it allowed us actually to add more shooting into the course. Instead of having one 8-hour course, we have 2 5-hour courses, so we get to up the round counts, and I think it's an important aspect, especially for that class.
And it helps with retention too, because if you take a
retention of the knowledge retention,
Yeah,
not
and
retention of holding onto the gun.
we do it as best we can with the time that we have, but 8 hours and going over with as many things as we want to talk about. We want to nerd out and
Oh,
just like
man.
got so much stuff. So we had to dial it down and be like, all right, hold on. We got to conceptualize
This
it
is-
so people can retain what we're talking
This
about.
is something that we might do in the future, but we could take that 8-hour course and make it a 2-day course. Easy.
Oh, easy.
You know, and
That'd be awesome.
It would be, and it's there's so much valuable information that we want to share, but people only have so much time, and so much time to devote to hanging out with us.
Yeah.
So,
And shooting guns.
we'll see where that goes.
It's expensive.
Anyway, glad you had a good time. Says found out how much I didn't know, which is that's a big deal. So
Hi, Aunt Do. That's my Aunt Do. I call
Aunt
it
Do?
Do. I call it Do.
Hi, Aunt Do.
Hey, Do.
Good morning.
I was going to say something else about the red dot class. Gordon, I'm sure that you recognize that a lot of these things are things that you have been introduced to before in our training, but the dot gives you such an ability to diagnose what's going on, and it really, you can have an instructor next to you saying, hey, you're flinching, or whatever, you tighten your left hand, or whatever it is that you're doing, and they can see it, but you as a shooter, it's tough to diagnose those things. So with the dot, and taking the training to teach you how to use the dot as a diagnosis tool is massive. You can really fine tune your abilities with the gun just by I don't want to say watching the dot, because you're not watching the dot, but you are aware of it.
See it.
Yeah.
You can see this thing floating around over here. You don't have to be staring at it, but you can see it floating around, and it tells a story. It does not lie. And especially if you can become in tune with what that streak is doing, up and down, left and right, whatever it's doing, it can help you figure out what you need to do.
Yep. For sure.
Let's see. I'm down to take it.
Relax.
Agreed on only having so much time. Yeah, that's a hard thing for, like, I don't understand. Like, why don't you just come here and train 4 or 5 days a week?
Yeah, why not?
For 5 or 10 hours a day.
It's fine.
You should.
Just come on in.
We understand that. It's, and it's, I want to say our opinion's a little bit jaded. And I guess it is, but because this is what we do for a living, so it's easy for us to see the value here and to see the improvements people can make in the short time we have with them, and then they turn it off and they regress and they come back 6 months later and you're starting over. Keep pushing.
Yeah. I think that is a big part of it, is the struggle of just I like seeing the learning process, and it's also like it's hard to have that long amount of time in the middle, and then to have the student come back, and it's, again, the refresher is great. I just wish that there could be like, okay, let's just go forward. But learning is hard.
It is. It's
hard.
Something that we were talking about this morning at Jiu-Jitsu. First, I want to read a couple of these real quick. Gordon says one word he heard more than anything was relax.
Tension.
Relax. Man, tension is such an enemy of performance, and it's a hard thing to turn off. It is definitely a trained thing. You have to commit yourself to trying to learn how to relax.
Just relax.
Yeah, it's a huge part of increasing your performance. Relax.
Mm-hmm.
Ritz, good freaking morning. Like Ryan says, because it's crazy. People have jobs now. Yeah. Tony, good morning. Nick, good morning. You missed 2 major matches Jason put together. Jason doesn't do anything. He doesn't do matches.
Not
Just this weekend was the IDPA World's Championships of Jason Brown things.
What?
Yes.
You're confusing me. I was trying to think of what week it was. I don't know.
This past weekend was like a state IDPA match out of interest.
Nice.
That Jason did, which is why our match got postponed to next week instead of last week.
I see.
Where was just this morning at Jiu-Jitsu, Jared had said something about goals and setting goals and all that, and it got me thinking about, it's the same way with shooting, right? If you just show up and you take a class and you leave the class, you've gained some knowledge, right? But if you don't have goals that you set for yourself to try to chase, that you're not already doing, like, okay, my draw to first shot in class was 3 seconds. That's slow, by the way, but 3 seconds. So I'm going to set that as my goal, is to maintain that. That's not what you want to do. You want to be better than that. So you set a draw to first shot to 2.5 seconds, and then to 2 seconds, and then to maybe 1.9. as you get faster, the increments need to get smaller. But you need to set yourself goals so you chase them, so you continue to push yourself and continue the learning process on your own. You don't have to come and take a class to continue to learn. You come and take a class to learn bigger concepts that you can start to break down and
I have a question for you.
have performance. Yes.
So I think because I started as a more precision, go slow, hit bullseyes, that sort of thing shooter, I've always noticed when someone is good at shooting faster, they have a hard time regulating their speed to slow down and get good hits. And obviously, whichever way you start, there's going to be a challenge going the other way. But I think that that's also a really helpful thing to do to practice is regulating yourself. And, you know, like it feels good to get the gun out there and just push past the anxiety, the anticipation, and just like, you know, if you've worked with one of us, I'm sure you've heard the, you know, keep a rhythm, keep a cadence, and it'll help you kind of push past that. But if you don't have that rhythm and you're trying to get those perfect shots, like, can you manage your tendency to flinch and get those good precise shots? Is it just as hard for someone who's started faster to slow down as it is for someone started slower to speed up?
I think it depends on a lot of things, right? Because when you say somebody who's shooting fast and accurate to slow down to precision, right? If in my head, this is what I hear. When somebody tells me like, hey, I'm accurate at 10 yards, what does accurate mean to you?
Yeah,
does it mean hitting this? So we had a conversation just 2 weeks ago, I don't know, with a student who said, oh, I'm plenty accurate at 10 yards. I want to get faster. I said, okay, what does accurate mean?
Yeah.
And he said, well, I can hit between the shoulder blades. That's a big target, okay? I said, hey, for us, we expect you to be able to, at 10 yards, hit this 1 inch square. That's something you should be able to do, but that's slow. I'm not hitting that 1 inch square shooting fast. Can I hit this shooting fast? Yeah. Can I hit this shooting fast? Maybe. You know, can I hit this shooting fast? What's fast? Okay, so to say I'm fast and accurate, if this is what I have defined as my acceptable level of accuracy, and I can rip the trigger as fast as I can possibly rip the trigger and keep it inside of there, well, now I'm being fast and accurate. If I try to shoot that same speed at this target, right, I probably won't be able to do it, because if I used all of the acceptable area of this first one, this one's much smaller, so I'm going to have to slow down. And that's at what distance is this? Right now we're talking 10 yards, right? So I'm not going to be able to shoot this at the same speed I can shoot this if at my max speed I'm using all of the acceptable level of accuracy, right? If I'm shooting at this target, but I'm putting them all right here, and I'm ripping them as fast as I can, I'm probably not ripping them as fast as I can, okay? So then I have this acceptable level of accuracy, which is going to make me move a little bit slower. Then I have this acceptable level of accuracy that I'm going to have to move even slower at the same distance. I might be able to shoot this as fast as this when I'm at 3 yards, and this one at 10. So it's a balancing act of distance, trigger speed, recoil management, and whatever your acceptable level of accuracy is.
Yeah, which really all comes down to your grip.
Yeah.
And your grip
the
is...
recoil management, when you're talking repetitive shots, anybody, I think, can be taught to shoot one shot slow, boom, and reset everything.
Well, but I think my question is where does the tension build? Because for me, the tension comes from picking up the pace and trusting that my grip's going to return the gun back to where it was prior to it recoiling. That's where my tension comes from.
Can I ask, can you define tension?
Yes.
Is tension in your grip or your trigger finger, or is tension just mean like just overall?
Control, like the desire to control and like I can get my gun out of my holster, everything feels good, and as soon as I get out and I start to press the trigger, my shoulders come up and I tense up on the gun, and I take a couple shots, and then I have to force my shoulders down. Like, it's me going fast builds the tension. Me going slow, easy. Like that's where I don't get tension there, but I have lots of students that build tension whenever they need to go slow. So whenever, because I've been trying to get them some sort of inoculation is just pressing the trigger in a decent pace. Just newer shooters can get some relief from the tension by just pressing the trigger, consistently. Sometimes if they're not ready for it, but they're willing, I'll go hands on and go with them, just to kind of feel the gun and everything like that. But when I need them to,
from the unknown.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I need them to slow down and try to get hits, then in a smaller area than a chest box, if you would, and be more precise, then that's when the tension starts to build, is when they're trying to manage this little guy here, rather than the grip, big gross motor skill. Like, okay, I need to keep my grip tight to manage recoil, but when I need to go slow, I really also need to focus on this guy here, and I gotta manage this guy, and that's where the tension builds for a lot of people that I've seen as well. So the tension comes from somewhere. It's just, is it a mental thing? Is it where you started from? Is it that's
I don't know. It is interesting. I want to mention two things real quick, but I want to see what Ryan says. Ryan says, if I'm shooting IDPA, I just care about fast A zones. Absolutely. If I'm doing Paralympic 10
meter.
Oh, 10 meter air rifle. Sorry, it's hard to read some of these things with the backgrounds. I get sad when I'm stacking.
When I'm not stacking.
When I'm not stacking shots within 2 millimeters. Yeah. So that's understanding what the parameters are for what you're trying to do, what your goal is, right? The timer builds tension. It does, and it's if you let it build tension. Okay. Dorian, good morning.
The tension arises for me as I start to shoot, like as my draw to first shot is, and my second shot. Those are my absolute weakest points for me. But
for me, what I notice is when I'm Andy, good morning. Okay, I'm going to say one thing, and I'm going to come back to this. We are not on topic right now.
I know.
Not
I
even
was
close.
thinking about it too, but
You did a very good job of squirreling us.
You're welcome.
Way off course.
Well, yes.
But hold on. So where I find myself building tension for me is when I'm trying to shoot fast and score myself, whether it's with the clock that I'm just timing myself or I'm shooting with other people, especially if I'm shooting with freaking Vincent and he does like a 1-8 bill drill or something, and then I try to keep up with that, and I'll feel myself squeeze the crap out of the gun with my dominant hand, which slows me down.
Yeah.
I can't pull the trigger as fast. And I'll even catch myself, a gun will come out, I'll bang, 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 and I'll
yes,
feel myself like just trying to wring the crap out of the gun. And it's counterproductive.
That's
right?
me all the time.
If I can remind myself to just put it there and move this thing, it's easy, but it's easy to say, not so easy to do.
One of the things that, I don't remember if it was Adam Lynch or Brian Hill.
Nick, you have a good day, bro.
At the last class with them, was that if you can kind of visualize them running the drill, like watching Brian or Adam or you and Vinny too, it's just when you draw your gun and you put the gun out there and take your shots, your shoulders stay relaxed, and Vinny's got his own shooting style, which is different, but he doesn't look tense necessarily. He just looks like he's running the gun. But to visualize someone being confident and relaxed while they're getting after it like that, that was very helpful for me, because it's hard for me to visualize myself doing that, but if I'm visualizing like, oh, I'm a perspective person, I like to put myself in other people's shoes, so it was just like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to be relaxed when I do this, and it did help, but it's hard to.
But it's something you have to do every time.
Absolutely.
Right now.
Yeah,
right
I
now.
want to. Yeah, exactly. So it's something I want to be able to do myself, but. I'm a big guy, as you know. I want to try a match. Keep saying I'm going to do it. I need to just get off the pot and give it a try.
Absolutely.
Yeah, do it. It's such a welcoming community.
Yeah, it is. It's.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you straight away, Dorian. It's scary, right? To walk into the unknown, being the guy that's coming in like with your bags and you don't know where to go or what to do. Like, can I set my stuff here? Can I put my gun on? ask all the questions, man. You show up, even if you come in for the first one, don't sign up for it, right? You're like, hey, I'm not going to shoot the match, but I'm going to come in and watch just to kind of see how it all goes. But bring your belt, bring your gun, just in case somebody doesn't show up. Jason or whoever's running the match that day might say, hey, dude, we've got 2 open spots. If you want to get in, let's go. And don't worry about trying to beat anybody else in there. Just show up and try to understand the rules a little bit, to see what people are doing, where they're handling their guns, what they're doing, you know, when they shoot the match, and just go freaking shoot it. You will love it. The community of people is awesome. You'll love it. It's a great time. It really is. So show up, shoot a match.
I might.
Skills and drills this Thursday. Come hang out. Be ready for a no-show. Yeah, people all the time cancel last-minute work stuff, family stuff. And we've been talking this morning about how busy people are. Things happen. Show up. You'll love it. You really will. All right. Should we just continue down this path, or should we talk about? I mean, it's only 8:30. We got time.
We got time.
Okay. Let's try to get back on track.
Stay on topic.
Let's try. Wait, hold on. Can I squirrel for a moment?
Okay.
We've been talking about trying to catch up with the 1900s and shoot some videos of drills or whatever. We're going to get out the film projector cameras and try to record some stuff. So if you have some drills that you want us to run, I've got some ideas of some fun stuff and that sort of thing. But if you got some drills, some ideas of drills you'd like for us or Liz specifically to run, share them. I want to go do some fun stuff. I want to share some stuff, get you guys to participate and record some videos. We can't make it crazy, right? I mean, we can have some fun and do some crazy stuff, but we want to probably mostly show stuff that you can do here on the range, right? Some of it can be drawn from a holster because some people can draw from a holster, but you can't be like run 12 laps around the building and then, you know, shoulder check a barrel and shoot 6 rounds center mass.
Yes.
I can't do anything. I mean, that'd be fun, but we're not doing a bunch of that stuff. Anyway, so Dorian, I'll tell you what. Hold on, watch this. If you don't know this about us, hold on. We're gonna go right over here. Look at this. Look at this selection of holsters. We got you covered, my man. You come in, get yourself a new holster, and shoot a match. IDPA will allow for appendix carry. I would caution against that as a new shooter and somebody that, and don't, no offense, but I've not seen you draw a gun from a holster. I would always be hesitant about appendix draw for somebody that I don't know. So get an outside the waistband holster for your gun. What kind of gun do you have? As long as it's not something wild and crazy, there's a good chance that we have something here that'll work for you. So, but do it. It's worth the $50, $60, $80 that you put into a holster to what are you doing?
I'm looking at my schedule on Thursday because I kind of need to get up here for a match because I'm kind of going to be doing a match soon. But I also need to do other things because, well, busy.
You're busy.
But I need to. So I'm gonna say it out loud right here because it will hold me just slightly more accountable.
Well, I'm just gonna tell you that I know the match is already sold out.
Well, that's fine, but I'm gonna show up and watch. That was kind of the thing.
Okay.
So
okay. What's a reasonable person, Liz?
wow. All right.
Not somebody that squirrels. That's what it is. Holy crap.
I feel like that's pretty reasonable.
Kimber, 1911, Glock 23. I don't remember what that is. What the hell is a 23? Is it a
It's
40
a 40
cal?
cal sub. It's like the 19. It's the compact.
Oh, compact. Okay, well that one we could definitely get a holster for. Kimber, 1911, we've most likely got holsters for.
No, same with the macro.
Well, it's outside. That's tougher.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, the one that I'm using is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it specifically for that gun. Don't know which one to go with. Maybe the SIG.
I'd say you're gonna have an easier time with a holster with a Glock for sure, than outside the waistband holster, but it's a little spicier cartridge.
Yeah,
so,
shooting 40.
there's that. So I wouldn't go with the. I don't know, the 1911. It just depends. It's.
I think that
I
I would start with the Glock 23.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then like Ryan says, bring 200 rounds. You're not going to go through that much. I mean, you might, but I highly doubt it. But bring that. That way, you've got plenty with you.
Okay, so let's talk about the
Good morning.
reasonable person test or the reasonable force test.
So what? Let's first back up.
Yeah,
What are we? What
are we talking about?
Yeah. In what context are we? Because we have totally changed gears.
So we were talking about shooting guns, and now we're going to talk about defensive. Well, self-defense. It doesn't even have to be with a gun because you still have to be reasonable. Everything that you do to another human being, especially in self-defense for sure, it needs to be reasonable because you're going to be judged highly on
Reasonable according to who?
it. Exactly.
Lots of people.
Lots of people.
First, you, and then second, third, fourth, fifth, and 12th, everybody else.
Yep.
Okay.
And on and on and on.
So
what is a reasonable
what is it?
person?
Yeah.
One of the curriculums that we've gone through recently has kind of laid this out into 4 basic questions that I think bring it up really, really well and give a really good big picture of it. So, first off, are you reasonably in fear of imminent threat to you? So it has to be immediate, imminent, and you have to be in immediate fear of something. So you have to prove that, and you have to articulate that. So you have to explain to other people who are judging you, whether it's the prosecutor, the jury, or whoever, that you made that choice because you were in reasonable fear of your life. And the force against you and the force applied, all of those things have to be reasonable as well. So what are you perceiving as force, and are you reasonable in defending against it? So, what? You had a thought?
No.
So, that's the first one. Now, we've talked about AOJ before, ability, opportunity, and jeopardy, which lends itself to the immediate or imminent aspect of it. We could go way down the rabbit hole on that, so we'll save that for another day. We'll rehash it again. But at the very least, go back and look at one of our other videos about the imminence triangle. So, the next one would be you have to be an innocent party. So this is where a lot of people drop the ball.
Screw up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you were not an innocent party, they're going to go back in time to, and who knows how far back in time. And you don't get the luxury of being able to say how far back.
Why are they going back in time? They're going back in time because you used force, right? We're saying that force has been used, and you're being looked at to decide if you should be prosecuted or not.
Yep.
So they is who?
So they is the prosecutor, the jury.
Yeah. They're going to look back to see, okay, you and Billy Bob got into a scuffle 3 weeks ago, but what happened a month ago? What happened 2 months ago? What happened 6 months ago? Are there reports of you guys getting in a scuffle before? And every time, it's you've started it, you drove your car through his front yard and peed on his bushes. Whatever it is, you're causing trouble. All of that, you're running your mouth on Facebook. People don't like to run their mouth face to face. They like to do it on the line, and all that stuff comes into play.
Yep. And I mean, just your state of mind could be called into question too. If you are making comments about people who ride motorcycles, they're awful and they all need to be wiped off the face of the planet, and your neighbor happens to be in a motorcycle group and that's the one who you had to use force against. Like, all of those things are going to get called into question. Like, oh, so you don't like motorcycle people. So can one assume that maybe you just wanted to take out your neighbor because they ride a motorcycle and you hate them? Those are all things that can get pulled up, and you will be challenged on them. So you need to remain the innocent party. You need to be a good person, make good choices, and be careful about what you say on social media. We're human beings, and we make candid comments, but I think that we need to understand, especially when it comes to carrying a gun every day and potentially defending yourself with a high consequential tool like that, you need to hold yourself to a higher standard and be aware of that, and just be a good person.
Yeah,
so.
we talked about a story, I think it was last week Monday. I don't remember the whole context, but it was essentially two people in a road rage incident or something. And a lot of times when you see a video, right, of guy one walking up to guy two's car with a gun in his hand, and guy two shoots and kills guy one, well, you think, okay, well, guy two did the right thing. But what if guy two started it? You missed it on the video. Like, the video didn't catch the fact that guy two rammed guy one first, and we'll say magically he fell out of his car and got up and drew his gun, right? Because I wouldn't be getting out of your car to go have a conversation with somebody who's being aggressive towards you.
Yeah.
But if just because guy one walked up to guy two's car and guy two shot him, doesn't mean guy two's an innocent party, right? You have to be an innocent party. So that's where ego gets a lot of people in trouble. We talk about that so much in class. Of your ego, you have to be in control of, because that will remove that innocent party portion super fast and get you in a lot of trouble.
Absolutely, it's tricky, but you gotta manage that. And think of the times when you're not carrying a gun, and think of the times that you're interacting with your family, your kids, your spouse, your grandma, who knows, because your ego comes out all kinds of ways. Practice all the time. It doesn't matter if you have a gun on you or not. Just practice managing your ego. Trust me, it will get you very far in life. And if you think that you can bite your tongue when you have a gun on and you are free to speak, however, when you don't have a gun on, you're wrong, because you need to create a habit of dropping the ego, losing it, and just moving on, even if you're right. There's certain things you need to stand up for. I'm not going to say that there's not things in life to
pushover.
Yeah, and it's not to say that just because you carry a gun, you couldn't find yourself in normal everyday arguments. But you really, really need to take that extra level of I don't know, understanding that people will escalate things outside of your control for whatever reason that you might not be privy to.
You might walk up to somebody to tell them they're doing something wrong and think that they're going to be a reasonable person, and you're going to say, hey, lady, you can't park there. That's a handicapped spot, or that's a whatever it is. You can't. That's not something you should be doing. And you would expect her to say, oh, sorry, I didn't realize that. I'll move, no big deal. That's what you're expecting to happen.
Right.
And it doesn't happen that way.
Almost ever does it.
You put yourself in there, and now you've challenged her, and her ego comes out. I'm like, what the hell is your problem? Who the hell are you to tell me what I can and can't do? And then your ego gets involved. You're like, well, I'm not going to let this chick talk to me that way. And then so you, like, I don't have a problem. You're the person with the freaking problem, and I'm going to make your problem worse. And then it just, blah, blah. You start climbing this ladder of aggression. She pulls out a knife, or maybe she pulls out her pepper spray, and you pull out your gun. It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not.
So practice dropping the ego. And
that's not easy.
It's not.
It's not easy.
My kids bring out my ego probably a lot in me, because it's hard to have a situation where your kid who's younger and less knowing than you and all this stuff that you could be wrong, and it's tough, but try. because you're teaching your kids valuable lessons and maintaining their ego as well. Because when they see that their parent can say, okay, I'm sorry, I got a little spicier than I needed to, or whatever, I didn't need to go, whatever, they will see that putting their ego in check is also a good thing because you're leading by example. So it's twofold. So the next one, no lesser force option is available. So obviously when we're considering the firearm, it is a last resort, absolutely last resort. Especially when you're considering property. And I heard something recently in one of the books that I've been reading, and it's like, a lot of people want to defend property with their gun, and there's to defend your property with a gun, to take someone's life over property, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Like, that's not your place. And as hard as we work for our property and our things, I totally get it. But there is no property out there that is worth your gun. No property worth you taking a life. We don't injure, we don't fire warning shots, so the gun is lethal 100%. If it's justified enough for it to, let's see, what's that line that I pulled out of that book recently? It was so good. It was like, if you have justification to shoot someone, you're saying that you're killing someone, because if you were to shoot someone, you could assume that they're going to die. I'm not saying it's always the case, but if you're shooting someone, the possibility of death is there. So, can you defend your property with a less force option? Yes, you can.
In Missouri.
In Missouri.
Let's make sure we're clear about that. We're talking about Missouri law specifically here.
And we're also not lawyers.
Yes.
We're
I'm
not
not a lawyer.
attorneys.
She's not a lawyer.
I'm not a lawyer. So
we're much nicer than that.
I've been watching this. Never mind. So, can you defend things? Can you defend yourself with lesser force options? Yes. Consider defending property in general is usually not a good idea because of the possibility of it escalating to a higher force option.
The possibility of you losing your life over a thing.
Absolutely.
I've said this a bunch of times. I say it in class all the time. This isn't necessarily bad, but we always visualize ourselves winning a fight, right? Somebody's trying to steal my truck. I'm going to go walk up and grab him by the neck, throw him on the ground, and say, "You don't steal my truck." And he says, "Oh, sorry, dude," and leaves.
Oops. Right?
Or we get in this big fight and I come out the victor. That doesn't always happen. You don't win every fight you get into, right? We had somewhat recently, 8-9 months ago, a gentleman tried to stop a couple people from stealing his car, and he got shot and killed. Right? He tried to go out. He caught somebody in the act of stealing his car. He left the safety of his home to go out and intervene, and he got shot and killed. His car is not worth his life. It's just not. Do I hate thieves? Yes. Would I like to be able to go out there and duct tape them into a big ball and call the cops and have them show up? Yes. Am I going to do that? No. If it happens in my house, don't come to my house. Okay, but if it happens at my house, I'm just going to call the cops. I mean, it's not worth me losing my life over a thing, whatever the thing is. My car, my bicycles, maybe. No, but it's just not worth it. That's an ego thing. I feel very capable. I feel like I could go out there and do some 1-2s and knock somebody down and hold them till the cops show up. But it's not worth it. It really isn't.
So
Dennis, good morning.
I kind of went on a side tangent with the no lesser force because defending property is not okay with a gun. So let me back up just a little bit here, because let's say that there is someone being aggressive with you and it's not to the point of using lethal force is not justified. And if you have something else that's capable of stopping the situation, like pepper spray or running away or your fist or driving away or some other force option that you have to get out of that situation before going to lethal force is always going to be questioned.
Yeah.
Always. So if you have pepper spray in your pocket and what? Let's do it. Yeah.
So this brings up an interesting point, because let's just say, right, the prosecutor didn't think that what you did was reasonable, so they brought charges against you. You're going to trial. We're in that stage. There are going to be people that are never going to think that using lethal force is reasonable.
Ever.
And that's who the prosecutor is going to try to get on the jury, right? So it might not matter. That's scary, okay? They might say, to that pepper spray point, that, hey, this guy was punching you in the face and then he pulled out a knife, but you shot him and you had this in your pocket. Why didn't you use that? Well, because he went to lethal force. Well, but don't you think that if you had sprayed him in the face with this, he would have not been able to see you, he wouldn't have been able to slash you or stab you, he would have dropped his knife and you could have got up and got away? Wouldn't that be the reasonable thing to do?
They think it's reasonable.
Exactly. I don't think that's reasonable, but it could be argued that some people would, because they don't know. And they know that you don't know because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a weird and truly it's a wonderful thing that our justice system is the way that it is, but it's very scary also.
Reasonable is tough, you know, like it's bittersweet.
Oh boy.
Because like I said, like if you guys didn't know, a couple weeks ago there was a guy driving behind me and my husband, driving extremely aggressively, waving a gun at us. And later on, we were thinking, like, maybe he was just singing along to a song and just being, I mean, absolutely ridiculous still. Absolutely. We were in fear of our lives. There was no doubt about that. We were reasonable in fear of our lives based off of the way that he was acting. His intention is what we didn't know. You know, like, was he intentionally being aggressive towards us, like he wanted to hurt us, or was he just singing a song? Who knows? But that's where the reasonable part comes in. We are not required to know what his state of mind was, only that he was giving us enough information to tell us that our lives were in danger. That's where the reasonable part comes in. But it's also reasonable, you know, for someone to assume that he's just singing a song. So you have to, that's where it's good and bad. So.
All right. You want me to read that, or you want to read it? You read it.
Okay. I understand
so
that
this is coming from Dorian.
I understand that it's wrong, but it's hard for someone is working hard just getting by. Watching something like their car being stolen out of the driveway by people with guns and knowing you can't do anything but watch it drive off. I'm not saying killing someone is the answer, but some people care or even desperately need things like vehicles and get to have some take that. It's rough. I get what you're saying, not arguing against it.
Yeah. We totally, yeah. I am in complete agreement with you.
Yeah.
That you could be, right, if I steal your car, I could be stealing your livelihood. I could be stealing your ability to make money to support your family. I totally understand that. So I know that decision's not easy. You know, for me, if somebody stole my car, I can walk to work. I mean, I could ride my bicycle to work. Okay, some people don't have that option. I get it. It's not an easy decision. That's where you start weighing. Now, if you go walking out, let's just say you catch, and this is because this is what happened to Dorian. Right? You catch me stealing your car. Right, you're in your house, you see on your cameras that there's some guy jimmying the lock on your car, and you go out there and immediately draw a gun, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay? Because I haven't threatened your life, but now you're using lethal force against me by giving me a substantial risk of death or serious physical injury. So you could be considered not an innocent party anymore. And then if all of a sudden I produced a gun and we exchange gunfire and you come out the victor, it could come out that you were actually not an innocent party. You caused the escalation. And that, now, you've got your car, but you've lost your freedom. That's way worse than losing your car.
Or at the very least, be hung up in court for the next however many years, months. Who knows how long these things can take, and just have your name, your reputation, and you drug through the mud through all this. And I was speaking cavalier about property earlier. Be like, it's just property, and I totally understand. If I were to lose my car, everything in my life would absolutely change. My job, my kids going to school, everything would change, and I don't want to discredit that at all, because that is a big thing. But it's really important to make this mental preparation ahead of time, which lends it to the next question you asked: is the better option not to go outside at all? What do you recommend?
Yes.
And that would be my recommendation is not.
My recommendation is call the cops.
Yeah. Outsource your violence.
Yes, outsource your violence, right?
John Grayson, I love it.
If I'm in my living room and I see on my cameras that there's somebody in my front yard trying to steal my car, I'm calling the cops. Again, I feel confident with my ability to use my hands. I feel confident with my ability to use a firearm if it was needed. I still have a high likelihood of losing the fight, because me, as the reasonable person, I am also conscious about what I'm doing, not just going out and slinging bullets. The bad guy doesn't give a shit. They just don't. So they don't care that they could just be throwing bullets at you and hurting people inside your home. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. Okay.
In the overall big picture, call the cops. And I know that's easier in some places than others, and I totally understand that as well.
Get as much and try to turn yourself into a witness at this point, because you're gonna get all excited about what's actually going on, but you might fail to recognize that there's a car parked over there next, in front of your house, a getaway car or something that you could get a license plate off of, or descriptions, or like I said, descriptions of the people stealing your car. You could set off your alarm. You can obviously call 911. You could start preparing yourself on the inside of your house just in case they decided to come in your house next. I wouldn't want to be just staring out the window watching these people break into my car without getting myself to my safe room, getting my kids safe and everything, and getting prepared just in case they decided to escalate up and come in my house. So that would be my go-to.
Can we talk about another reasonable person that you have to contend with is the media?
Absolutely.
Right. So you use force to protect yourself, whether it ends up being lethal or not, and the media gets a hold of the story and they portray it a certain way. Now you've got tens of thousands, if not millions of people deciding if what you did was reasonable or not.
Look at Rittenhouse.
Oh, yeah.
There were people coming at him with a skateboard. And how many people, the whole world, was like, oh, it's just a skateboard. It's like, are you kidding me? If you were to be bashed upside the head with that skateboard, and then who knows, let's say he got knocked out and then his gun's sitting there. It's like, there's a whole nother level of that. But just look at what the people judge. How are they judging the whole situation? And even if it was reasonable, obviously he came out on top there. But just look at the way that he was judged through that process. It was just, he just had a gun in his hand and he wasn't even pointing it at you. So how dare you get your gun? Oh my gosh.
Yes, it's tough, right?
Tough.
There's lots of people that you have to be reasonable to and accountable to for that. Let's see.
Tim says, turn on your car alarm, panic button while calling police is better than just watching. That's a good idea.
Yep.
Hit your panic alarm, for sure.
Except if you have a Toyota and you have to be standing right next to it to hit any button for it to freaking work.
I know your struggle.
I don't now we're going to go down a whole other path. My 2008 Chevy Suburban, I could be across a Walmart parking lot and remote start my truck. No problem. My freaking 2023 Toyota, I have to touch it with the remote, boop boop.
Put it up to your head.
Yeah.
It makes, especially since you're bald, it'll probably make the
I have to
signal go further.
Sorry, that was a totally off topic.
Okay, so what's the fourth thing?
I don't know. I can't read it.
Okay, no reasonable means of retreat or escape. All right, now here comes the castle doctrine people's.
Stand your ground.
Stand your ground. Well, castle doctrine and stand your ground often get confused for a variety of reasons.
Holy crap.
Hold on.
I know we got lots of things going on now.
Okay, so real quick, I feel like the best thing for Kyle Rittenhouse was that his case got blown up as much as it did because at least he got some financial help from the court system and it didn't totally ruin his life. I am glad that he got help, but
Yeah.
the
ruining his life.
I don't know about
Yeah.
that Ritz. I saw him at the GOA conference, and he.
Keep in mind, he's in a loved place. He's in a place where
He was welcome there. There were gun people.
99.9% everybody there is going to be supportive for what he went through.
He didn't. I could tell he did not want to talk to anybody. He was very, very closed off by himself. I never saw him over the period of the weekend. I saw him several times. Once even in Starbucks amidst all of us there. I didn't even want to go talk to him because he was that closed off. Like he had a service dog with him. I cannot imagine the things that he's going through right now. And I don't care, you know, how many of us look at him like wow, you overcame, like, I'm not going to say he's a hero. Like,
Yeah.
He defended his life, and I'm thankful that he defended his life and whoever else those people wanted to hurt. I want to say that I'm thankful for that. I don't want to deem him as a hero because he lived through a situation. I'm happy that happened, but he didn't go there with the intention of doing those things, and that's a whole other topic. But his life now is not what everybody would have expected or what they expected to be. I can't imagine. I'm speaking just, I don't know for sure,
Yeah.
but I can't imagine he's living his best life. He's probably dealing with a lot of stuff, good and bad. So, he's the most extreme version in our industry of someone that used force and got a lot of heat from it. Look at Zimmerman. Zimmerman's the same freaking thing. Like, look at all the heat that came from that, and all the complexities behind the reasonable person, and it's a lot.
So Dorian says, my situation was a bit different because a person kicked my front door before they tried to break into my truck. That's what brought me outside for the confrontation. But Phil sat me down and straightened me out on where I went wrong. And yeah, that's ego, right? That's and not that it's a bad. I mean, it is a bad thing.
Ego's good and bad.
Yeah,
you just have to be in control of it.
That's the bigger thing. Is understanding, like, ooh, this person just called me a punk. I want to go prove to them that I'm not. What do you really gain out of that? Now, I sound like such an old fud when I'm going to say this, but 20, 30 years ago, let's go frickin' throw down. Let's throw some punches, kick the crap out of each other, pick each other up when we're done, and say, yep, you won, or I lost, or whatever, and you go buy each other a drink and call it good. That stuff doesn't happen, unfortunately, anymore.
Yeah,
Right?
I feel like
People-
we're too civilized now.
Oh yeah, and it can go from let's just go duke it out and figure out our differences that way, to, well, because he is kicking my tail, I need to shoot him.
I need to win a fight.
Yeah.
That's why you see and you often hear about martial artists and people that they don't get into fights because they know they don't have to. It's you understand, like, the gravity of fighting. You also understand how to be in control of the ego within, that fight response, that tendency to want to get violent. Like, you have to know where your limits are. Whether you apply the force or you don't, you have to know when you have to stop, because you've solved the problem. You've gotten to safety. You didn't win a fight. Ego wins fights. Keeping your ego in check gets you to safety and solves problems. And like I said, you can use that in all kinds of ways. It doesn't just have to be in a physical altercation, but I truly think that our society needs our educational beatdowns back, without the, if it all worked out the way that it was supposed to, we should be able to have those educational beatdowns to where we learn a lesson in society That way, the people that are willing to go, hands-on with each other, they are willing to be violent, they learn where those boundaries are. There's a big reason why kids and young boys need to have that rough and tumble play, so they know what it's like to hurt another individual or be hurt themselves, so they can be in control of it. Because if you've never gone down the path of violence, you're not going to know what to do when it comes out unexpectedly. And so you got to get to know yourself mentally and physically.
I want to use a jiu-jitsu reference here, and we may have talked, I don't remember if you and I talked about it, or it was me and somebody else, but if you don't know, in jiu-jitsu, the belt progression, it's white belt, blue belt, purple, brown, black, right? And so you go and ask the random person, who's the most dangerous person? Well, it's the black belt, the black belt, the black belt. You ask the white belt student, who's the most dangerous person? Well, it's the black belt. You ask any other belt, blue, purple, brown, or black, they're going to say the white belt because they are not in control. They don't know what they're doing, and they're just going crazy. We call it white belt fury, right? Like, and they're not in control.
Yeah, they just feel like they want to fight.
It's scary. It can be tough to control somebody like that. Same is true in our society if you're not used to what that looks like, right? Educational beatdowns are good.
Same thing with your ego.
But it's tough.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's why kids throw tantrums and they flail because they're just, I'm so mad. I just got to get it out. And I've seen full-grown adults throw tantrums too, and it's disgusting and hilarious at the same time. We don't want an adult that is capable of hurting us to throw a fit around us either. So, de-escalate yourself to hopefully neutralize the situation. Because if they're not capable of de-escalating themselves, hopefully you can de-escalate yourself to the point where they don't want to, or they don't feel it necessary to tangle with you anymore. So,
Paul says, excellent point. Thank you. You're welcome. The more I learned in martial arts, the less I need to use it. 100% true.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And the same thing goes with your gun. The more that you train with your gun, the less you're worried about how fast you can get it out if you ever needed it. Because if you don't train a lot with your gun, or you don't know yourself with your gun, whether you don't know yourself about making good decisions or drawing your gun, like your time and all that stuff, you have no realization like how your application could apply in the real world. Like, could you see the side of their face, and how fast can you get the gun out to be able to draw on a drawn gun? Like, can you time those things in real life? Because if you don't train enough, you don't really know what those time limits are. And then you might feel like everything's a nail and you got a hammer in your hand. You're like, I don't really know what I'm capable of. So the slightest little thing could get you like, oh my gosh, maybe I need to draw my gun sooner rather than later to accommodate my lack of training. And I think that the more that you train and get to know your tools, your mindset and everything like that, the higher likelihood you're going to be making better decisions, because you're not going to feel so anxious about it.
And you have the ability to think about the situation and not the tool.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not immensely comfortable with the tool, whatever the tool is, in this case, we're talking a gun. If you're not immensely comfortable with that tool, your brain is focused on how do I get to it? Where is it? Do I have a round in the chamber? Do I have to rack the slide or not? Yeah. I need to build my grip this way, I think, and I have to line the sights up on the bad guy. And you're not thinking about what the bad guy's doing, or that you could be turning around and running that way. There's nothing wrong with running away. Nothing wrong with running away.
That was actually what we were supposed to be talking about on the number 4, is no reasonable means of retreat.
Yes, I know. Squirrel.
And as you guys can see, like, this world is massive.
It's huge.
And everybody's brains are different. That's why the reasonable person exists, because reasonable to you and reasonable to me is different. And we need to understand what society generally deems as reasonable, because that's how we're going to be judged. It's going to be like a collective average. But the better you can understand the decisions that you're making and articulate why you made the decisions, then you will be more likely to be able to create other reasonable people around you. Be like, well, I made this decision because I learned that someone could cover 7 yards in 1.5 seconds, and they were exhibiting body language displays of aggression, that they were about to fight me. They were clenching their fists, they were tightening their jaw, they were lunging in my direction. All of those things are going to go towards your reasonable person and get everybody else to understand why you were reasonable in making that choice. And to circle back around to the reasonable retreat or escape option, in Missouri we have what you call a stand your ground law. There is no reason, or you're not required to leave, given that you're in a place you are lawfully able to be. Obviously, if you're not lawfully able to be there, then this doesn't work. But the stand your ground law is to basically say you don't have to escape, but you're going to be questioned on why you didn't try. And
just because the law says you don't have to doesn't mean somebody else can't try to say that, well, the guy told you he was going to shoot you in 47 seconds, and you said, okay,
right.
2, 3. That's not reasonable.
No.
Right? You could have turned and started running away. Just because you don't have to doesn't mean you should. It just removes that burden from you that you have to try to escape first. You still have to be reasonable in your actions. So if it's deemed unreasonable that you were standing your ground for whatever the reason, because of your ego or because you had nowhere else to go, right? If it's considered unreasonable, all the good stuff just got thrown out the window.
I couldn't leave my car while I was being carjacked at the gas station because my kids were in the car. That is a big reason why I'm not going to attempt to run away. But otherwise, if someone wants my car, I'm leaving. See you later.
Bye.
So those are, some decisions that you can make. And like, there's a...
All I thought was flip it, stick it, see you later.
Bye. If you want to see the G.I. Joe PSA, I don't know, flip it, stick it, see you later. You gotta watch it. It's great.
You gotta do yourself a favor and
like
Google it.
30 seconds long.
Yeah. G.I. Joe PSA.
Yes. G.I. Joe. Damn it. Okay, so let's say that you're driving down the road and there's a dog runs in front of you and the person behind you hits you, and they pull over and you pull over, like, I don't know, 40 yards away from them, okay? And you get out of your car and your car's totally fine and running and everything like that. You get out of your car to go towards the other person to get insurance and things like that. You see the other person get out of their car with a machete and start running towards you. And like I said, it's like 40 yards away. There's plenty of distance. Instead of you getting in your car and driving away, you stand there, draw your gun, wait until they get close enough to you, and then fire. Were they coming at you with a deadly tool?
Yep.
Absolutely they were. But did you have a reasonable means of escape? You absolutely did.
You could have hopped right back in your car and
got out of there. Yep. And that would have been okay for you leaving the scene of an accident. You would have been able to articulate to the cops later, like, well, he was chasing me with a machete. So I think that makes sense for you to escape to safety, to get out of there, to solve that problem. So Dorian says, mindset-wise, it is a bad thing to be in the mind frame. Oh, is it a bad thing to be in the mind frame of, if you're in my home, I'm going to kill you? Or should it be some sort of resistance or reservation? I can't think of the correct word. Good question.
Yeah.
So we also have, Missouri also has a castle doctrine, which is also, the stand your ground and castle doctrine are oftentimes talked about together. But Missouri's law gives you the presumption that if someone is in your house, that you can assume they're there to do you harm. You're reasonable in assuming that they're there to do you harm. Are you still going to be questioned on drunk Tom coming through your door, stumble in and saying, hey guys, I'm here for the party, and well, you just found that that's your, like,
I could take drunk Tom out.
Yep. No. Now,
yeah.
We have a struggle.
Yeah, Missouri's law is pretty solid, but you still have to be reasonable. So an example that I often give of this is that if you walk in your door, your front door to your house, let's just say that's the door that you use going in and out of your home all the time. You walk into your door, nobody else is home, okay? You and your family come home, you're the first one through the door, and you see bad guy Phil walking through your living room with your 85-inch TV.
Just so you guys can keep seeing this.
And you're like, okay, he's in my house. Here we go. Boom! Bad guy's in your home. You did not invite him there. You're inside your home. Is that going to be considered reasonable?
It's almost like you're hunting.
Yeah, probably not. What most people are going to consider reasonable is you walking in your home and seeing Phil carrying your TV and you go, ah! And leave. Why are you laughing at me? Oh, I'm not funny.
It was your ah.
That's going to be considered more reasonable. Now,
What if he could have hit you on the head with the TV, knocked you out?
but he's across the living room from me. He's got to carry it. He doesn't even know you're home. He's got this big 85-inch TV in front of his face. Now, let's just say your whole family's at home. And you get up in the morning and you get all your stuff, whatever. You walk downstairs, go make a cup of coffee, and you run into bad guy Phil carrying your TV. Well, now there could be a big scuffle. Maybe you got your gun in your kitchen. Maybe you've already put your gun on for the day. Who knows? Whatever it is. And you end up having to use it. Well, there's people at home that you're trying to protect. It would not be considered reasonable for you to just turn around and run away and leave your wife and your kids there to defend themselves against this person. So, yes, there are some very good protections in Missouri in your home, but it's not an absolute thing. Just because somebody's in your house does not mean that you can kill them, right? You can use lethal force. You still have to be considered reasonable. And
one of the things you can do to kind of change the verbiage in your head to kind of elicit a different mindset is to change, instead of kill, to stop, to stop a threat. So if drunk Tom does come through. Actually, there's a video that I show in my CCW class of this family that's in their living room and kitchen area, and this guy just opens up the door and he's just standing there. He's got hood up. He looks like he's out of a. Oh man, it's terrifying. Yeah, it is. It looks like something out of a scary movie. Yeah, and he's just standing there like in the doorway, and the dad, the husband, is like. He's got his gun drawn, like pointed at the guy. He's like, "Get out of my house! What are you doing here? Get out of my house!" And the guy's just standing there, like completely oblivious. And could he have shot him? Yes. I feel like there was everything in line there that would have been justified, but he didn't. And you just saw the guy like just back off, and he finally left. It was the weirdest situation. I'm sure he's glad that he didn't use that level of force, because it would have changed his life and his family's life and everything drastically. But it was also a terrifying circumstance. It was very interesting. So there's a question that came up here that I think is a really good thing to talk about, is can you shoot them in the leg? And that is a very, very common question in the defensive world, shooting in the leg or shooting to injure versus shooting to kill. And again, flipping that verbiage to stop instead of kill. If you need to stop a threat, like you point a gun at someone, and if that stops them and they go away, that's awesome. What? If you point a gun at somebody, does lethal force have to be justified? Yes. 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 Because you are using lethal force. You are giving, even if you haven't pulled the trigger, you're giving that person, if I'm the guy who walked in your house and you point a gun at me, you are giving me a substantial risk of death or serious physical injury. Therefore, lethal force has to be justified. If it's not, you are no longer an innocent party. So to say that I'm just going to shoot this person in the leg to stop them is the wrong way of thinking about it. Yeah. Because you are using lethal force, like, hey, he hasn't threatened me, lethal force isn't justified yet, so I'm just going to shoot him in the leg. That's not an okay thing. No. Lethal force has to be justified. Now, if in the course of you trying to defend yourself, you happen to shoot somebody in the leg and they go down and that stops the threat,
that's good. But also don't think just because you shot somebody in the leg, you're not going to kill them.
Absolutely. There's a very large artery that runs through the back of your leg.
Very large artery that runs down the front of your leg that if you catch that, you are most likely going to end that person's life. So to say, well, I'll just shoot him in the thigh, and that way he falls down, and I can run away at that point, that's not the right way to think about it.
Not to mention the legs, any of the limbs are a much more mobile target. It's going to be moving around a lot more. Your ability to hit it is going to be much lower. So therefore, collateral damage and all that is much more of a possibility. And I think that you'd be judged quite harshly on that. So you just wanted to shoot him in the leg. So what you're saying is you didn't fear your life enough to shoot him center of mass to stop the threat faster. And then you are also jeopardizing other people by choosing to fire at a more mobile target. So,
and Cynthia, I want to be clear about this too. We're not attacking you for your question because it's a very, very common question. It is often misunderstood because we think that I can do this. Like if I could just shoot him in the hand and knock. We see it in movies all the time.
Oh, sure.
Bad guy's got a gun and the cop shoots the gun out of his hand and nobody really gets hurt. You cannot do that, right? You could, but if you try to say that that's what your intent was, you're saying that it wasn't worth actually using force, and that could absolutely get you in trouble.
So Dorian asks, I've read stories of intruders suing the very people they were trying to rob over them being hurt.
Yeah.
Don't know how true it is, but I read some stories.
That stuff happens, and sometimes it also happens from the family of the bad guy after the fact. Even if the bad guy does expire, the families can go after, especially for civil damages. And this is assuming that it was a good shoot. If it was a bad shoot, then that's a whole nother story.
Then you have criminal and civil.
Yeah. So
people can sue you for anything. They can sue you for wearing orange shoes if they want. It's just a matter of finding an attorney that. I know orange is awesome, but it's just a matter of finding an attorney that's willing to take the case. And well, you can get some really aggressive attorneys that are willing to try for something like that. The threshold for being I don't know if it's not called convicted, but being responsible for those damages, that threshold is only 51% of the jury versus beyond a reasonable doubt with the criminal court.
So Paul brings up a point too. He says while he's bleeding out, he can still do you damage. Absolutely, depending on what his tool is. So I'm going to give one quick example, and we got to get going. We've been doing this way longer than we were anticipating.
There's so many cool things to talk about.
I know. So one thing I talk about a lot, especially in our private security or law enforcement stuff, is there's a video that's out there of a security guard at a bank. Bad guy walks in, security guard's doing his job, he sees this guy walk in, something's off about this person, and security guard starts walking towards him to confront him, I'm assuming. And as the security guard starts walking towards him, the bad guy pulls out a gun. Good guy pulls out a gun. Security guard shoots the bad guy, boom, hits him in the neck. Okay? There's a lot of vital areas in your neck. Catches the bad guy, and it's going to be graphic, but bright red blood is shooting out of his neck like a fountain. Okay? Bad guy reaches up and puts his hand up here, and you can see him. He flinches, goes down, and the good guy puts his gun down. And then the bad guy comes up and shoots the good guy 6 times.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Man.
That's
thankfully,
rough.
The bad guy was a good shooter, and he hit the good guy in the vest. The security guard was wearing a vest, hit him 6 times in the vest. The bad guy passed away probably 15 seconds later. Think about if you, especially if anybody's done any sort of classes or competitions, think about how many rounds you can fire in 15 seconds. A lot, right? You could easily empty a handgun in that amount of time. And that sounds like, hey, I hit her here and 15 seconds later she dies. That sounds super fast. But in the context of the self-defense situation, that's a really long time.
Way too long.
Again, the good guy shot him, boom, that guy flinched, and blood is shooting out of his neck. He grabs it and pops right up and shoots the good guy 6 times.
And I've seen that a lot with knife fights too.
So just because you hit somebody doesn't mean the fight's over. Right? I often will say it's not like the movies where you shoot the bad guy once and he gets blown through 3 brick walls and off a 12-story
Right.
building. Real life doesn't happen that way. People can, if they really want to do you harm, they have the time and they have the drive. They can still do you harm even though they're hurt.
So I haven't seen the video yet, but ability, opportunity, and jeopardy, I guess at the point where he grabbed his neck and bent over, what are we starting to lose there? Because he still has the ability and the opportunity, but I feel like the jeopardy is starting to be diminished because it's like, is he giving up the fight? So I guess I'm just trying to visualize the correct way to handle that. I would have stayed pointed at him at least.
Well, I also will tell people you don't ever fire just one shot.
Oh, for sure.
And that's what he did. He just came up, boom! He had no idea what the result of that was going to be.
I see, okay.
You know, it's just boom! And then he sees the guy flinch. It should be up, center mass, and shoot until the threat stops.
Yeah.
Shoot until the threat stops. Which is another big reason why I don't like in classes, I see people, boom! How'd I do?
Oh, yeah.
Boom! How'd I do?
But I wonder...
It creates bad habits defensively. It also creates bad habits it creates inconsistencies in your shooting.
I want to argue with you a little bit. But only just because, like, let's say he bent over and grabbed his neck and guard kept shooting and then shot, like, in here or up here. But the prosecutor's going to look like, okay, so where was the kill shot? And then, you know, there's going to be the whole, like, oh, well, he was hunched over and he was no longer fighting. I'm being the devil's advocate here, of course.
It doesn't matter.
It's going to be questioned.
I mean, I say it doesn't matter. It does matter, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
The same thing, shooting people in the back is not an absolute bad thing.
Sure, it's not absolute, right?
Yeah, I can be standing this way and shoot my gun this way and have another good guy shoot me in the back.
Or be...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Or be running past the excellent example.
So that's why I don't like to say, well, just because it entered in his top shoulder and came out his lower back, that now it's a bad shoot. That has nothing to do with it.
I think that it gets scrutinized.
Yes,
but
the perception of it can be used, especially by those that don't know, to try to convince other people that don't know that what you did was unreasonable.
Right.
Absolutely, that kind of stuff can happen. But it's not a definitive that just because this happened, it's automatically a bad shoot.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's going to be scrutinized more? Probably.
Sure.
Probably. And you're going to have experts that attest to this, that, and the other thing, and so on. So, okay. I mean, we got to go. So, Rit says, and a judge who will hear said case.
We were talking about the civil stuff.
Oh, yeah. All right, we got to go. We've been rambling a really long time.
Okay.
Really long time. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us this morning.
Heck yeah, great questions.
It was good questions. Good topic. I like this topic. It's very complicated.
Yeah.
We could just keep going with this. I'm not even gonna say. Yes, I am. No,
Say it. What?
No, because we don't have the time to do it. I was thinking about a thing the other day, like a range after hours, range after dark, or something where me, you, and Vin are sitting down at one of our houses. And speaking of Vin, hi there, Vincent. Me, you, and Vin are just sitting around having these kind of conversations, but not at work. We're having a drink or just sitting around, whatever. But we don't have time. We don't have time to do that stuff. Because this is a conversation we could literally talk about. I mean, we've been talking about it for an hour.
Yeah, for sure.
We could easily go on for hours.
We need a podcast.
Man, we need to do a lot of things. I haven't seen anybody post about drills. So you're gonna have to send it. If you have drills you want to see us do, I think the first one that we should probably do for a shooting drill is the 5x5.
25-yard build drill.
25-yard build drill? Holy crap. Okay, I'm down. I will not win that one. Not that we need to win it, but just to do it to get other people to do so.
Okay.
But I want to do the card drill.
Okay.
All right. We're going away because we have a meeting that starts shortly. And we actually have to do work today outside of just staying here and talk to you fine folks. I know, I don't want to, but we got to. If you guys need something, failure drill. Okay, 2 to the body, 1 to the head. I'm assuming that's what you mean there, Paul. I like those. I like reloads and stuff too. Holy crap. Speaking of reloads, another bit of a squirrel moment. I was watching Tim Herron yesterday do reloads. It's not even possible what he's doing. I don't understand. I don't understand it. I mean, it was like, I
Magic?
think he had his par time set for like 0.3 of a second or something. It was like beep beep, and his gun was reloaded. I don't think I could say the beeps as fast as they were happening. Beep beep, and his gun was reloaded. I don't understand how that man does that so fast.
Show it to Vinny, and then Vinny will be
Holy
like,
crap! You can Vinny, go to the deliberate training thing and watch Tim's.
make it happen.
Yeah, holy crap! I challenge you, Vincent. Pokey Leone. I bet you can't do it. Dorian, I can talk to the wife. Let me know. Talk to the wife. Let me know. I might be able to give you the footage of my situation if you want to use it for classes.
Heck yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Hell yeah.
Even if it's not something that, and if we can share it in class, I'm totally cool with that too. Even if it's not something we can share in class, but just that we can watch a couple times, because it's been, I don't know what it's been. It's probably been a year or so since you've been in here with that. Maybe not quite that long. But just to watch it again and let her watch it and Vinny watch it, and just to use as an example. And obviously, in your case, it all worked out well. It worked out good. But things can always go a little bit differently. So, anyway, now back on topic. 14803 Manchester Road in beautiful Baldwin, Missouri. Come hang out with us if you want to. We have coffee. We have guns and ammo and all sorts of cool stuff.
All the things.
We have t-shirts. We still have Hawaiian shirts. You need a Hawaiian shirt, so come in here and get a Hawaiian shirt. And that's it. What all sorts of classes coming up? I'm teaching CCW tomorrow, so if you want the best CCW class that we teach in this building, show up tomorrow. Come on out. $135 gets you a seat, and you get to listen to this all day long.
You get to listen to this all day long.
You guys are freaking awesome. I appreciate you hanging out with us. Stay safe. Be nice to one another. We'll catch you soon. Later.
Toodles.